Today's tutorial is a Flamingo. I'll be using the Micador Brilliant Watercolour set, 36 colours in this set, and disc 6 and disc 5 are the ones I'll be using today. I'll also be using the size 8 Roymac rigger brush, which is great for this project. I'll be dipping into the peach colour first and painting around the flamingo's head and neck. So I'm just using a damp brush and going straight into that peach colour and following through around that neckline. I'm also taking that peach colour through the bottom tail feathers and the ridge of the top of the flamingo. Then I'm coming in with the apricot, so it's a little bit of a darker value, and I'm taking that apricot into that triangular section around the neckline and then proceeding to take it back onto the already painted peach area of the flamingo. And that's just going to intensify the values and the 3 feathers on the ridge of the flamingo itself. So I'm taking some of the light pink now and placing it on the bottom half of the flamingo's belly. And then I'm just going to use a little bit of that pink in the tail feather itself. And then I'm going to move back up onto that wing and place the majority of the pink there. It's a really nice soft pink. Now I'm sneaking in a little bit more of that peach and I'll pop that in the middle of the flamingo. And then come in with the apricot to intensify the values of the neck of the flamingo. The permanent red's found on disc 5, and I'm just placing that in that triangular area of the flamingo's body, and then I'm going to use a little bit of water to disperse that out and soften the edges. One of my favourite colours is the magenta that is also on disc 5, and I'm popping that in on the bottom half of the feathers, and that will deepen the colour. A little bit on the tail, and then just a little bit of the apricot again. And when I talk about deepening the values, I'm just talking about the colour. I want it to be nice and rich, so this project is all about layering and coming in with the colours one on top of the other. I'm adding a little bit more of that light pink now into that wing area, and then I'm taking that light pink up into the head area of the flamingo and down the neckline. So all the colours are now merging together. The paper is still wet. So once you've covered that middle area, just dry it off with a hairdryer and then start to come in with a little bit more detail. So picking up the apricots straight out of the palette and working on those feathers. I'm going to pick up some magenta now and start working on that bigger wing. I'm just using the magenta to outline some of the wing structure. Just using the tip of the brush. So just work your way around that big wing with the magenta. I'm just popping a little bit more of that apricot again to increase the depth, and then using the light pink to just flick up and pop in some details for the feathers. Now I'm just going to zap dry that with a hairdryer and then come in with the deep blue, which is on disc 5, and pop in some of those details. So under the underbelly and around that sort of neckline and tail end. And then I'm going to use the deep blue and draw that out, down, and do that first leg. And then I'll rinse out my brush and then use the magenta for the second leg and work my way down. So the front leg is magenta and the back leg is the deep blue. And then just coming in with a bit of the shading for where the feathers are sort of one on top of the other. Now I'm still playing around with the magenta and I'm going to take that down the back leg, and that will really make that colour pop. And then I'm going to take the deep blue and start working on the beak and the eye area. And just a little bit more intensity around the neck and shading. And rinse out my brush and go into a little bit more of that permanent red. And so you're eyeing off this painting at the moment and you're looking at the best way to approach it. So you can use your discretion on where you want to place paint. This is what feels good for me. So I'm just zooming in for you so you can see a little bit clearer. Just in with that apricot again. And these last stages are all about increasing the colour intensity. So you're just layering one on top of the other. A little bit more of that permanent red on the neckline. And this is very close to being finished now. Again, just making some of those areas a little bit darker. And I'm popping in a little bit of that olive colour. And then smoothing off the edges. A little bit more of that apricot. And then a little bit of that olive in that beak area. I'm just dropping that in lightly. My brush is wet and the paper is dry. And for a real pop, I'm just placing a layer of that olive on some of the sections of the feathers. Back in with the magenta and then just working a shadow down the legs. And again, just assessing the painting now, it's coming towards the end. And I'm just working out where I want to place a little bit more of a dark value. So I'm coming in with some magenta, I'm coming in with a little bit of that deep blue. And balancing out the painting so that it looks appealing for the eye. So at the moment the brush is just wet, slightly damp. And I'm just applying a little bit more of that permanent red. It's all about making that colour really intense and making that painting pop off the page. And there you have it, one flamingo. Thank you for watching.